What's up everybody, Brian here with BPS Customs, and today on the channel we're going to get a chance to take a look at both the RX 470 and the RX 460 because they're in studio and we're going to put them into the test. Alright, so as you guys may have gathered from my previous video featuring the RX 480, okay, 2 videos, okay, 4 videos, okay, 5 videos. I'm a fan of this card right here. It's not the best card for hardcore enthusiasts. It's not the absolute cheapest card on the market, but it hits an important sweet spot for consumers, balancing an impressive performance pedigree with an MSRP that most gamers can afford. This was the card that introduced the world to AMD's Polaris architecture, and recently, Team Red has informed us that there are more members of this Polaris family. Upstart younger brother RX 470 has a legitimate claim for the performance per dollar crown, and baby cousin RX 460 shows plenty of promise in less demanding tasks. And let's actually start there. This is the Power Color Red Dragon RX 460. It's the most basic of all the AIB partner cards, sporting 2 gigs of GDDR5, 896 stream processors, and a boost clock of 1212 MHz. Some cards by other manufacturers sport 4 gigs of frame buffer and slightly higher clock speeds, but ultimately should perform similarly. The I/O is limited to 1 DVI-D, 1 HDMI, and 1 DisplayPort, but this is common across all 460 models. The cooler sports a single fan blowing across an aluminum heatsink, and Power Color has included their mute fan technology, where the fan doesn't even move until the card warms up a bit. This allows for silent operation, making this card a perfect choice for home theater PCs. Unfortunately, I did find that tweaking the fan curve to dial in an overclock resulted in similar jet engine levels of fan noise that I experienced with the blower style cooler on this card right here. Perhaps the best part about this card when compared to other beefier versions of the 460 is that it's relatively svelte and requires no additional power besides that already provided by the PCIe slot. Now, according to AMD, the 460 is marketed towards esports gamers, meaning those needing 60 FPS performance in extremely popular but older and less demanding titles like CSGO, Dota 2, and League of Legends. It comes in at an extremely aggressive price point of only $110. Next up, let's take a gander at MSI's beautiful Gaming X version of the RX 470. The Gaming X 470 uses the same twin Frozr 6 cooler design as even the most expensive current generation GPUs, meaning that you get top of the line cooling performance, efficiency, and silent operation that you'd find in something like the GTX 1080. The twin ball bearing fans are whisper quiet, and even with a custom fan curve applied and the card under full load, manages to stay much quieter than any reference card I've tested this year. Not to mention that this shroud is my personal favorite out of all of the AIB partners when it comes to aesthetics. Granted, I have yet to get my hands on the new Gigabyte Extreme Gaming Cooler. Wink. Now, this particular 470 is a 4GB model, which will likely be plenty for its intended audience. The 470 does also, however, come in 8GB flavors. The 470 sports significantly more stream processors than the 460, with 2048 of them under the hood. It also sports a higher boost clock at 1254 MHz. These numbers are eerily similar to that on the RX 480, being a tad lower in both spec categories. I/O on this card is a little more robust than on the 460 with 5 total outputs instead of 3. It also needs a little more juice to spin up those fans, requiring an auxiliary 8-pin connection. Now, this card is made more for ultra setting 1080p gaming with AAA titles, as well as 1440p gaming at medium or high settings. As a result, you'll pay a premium for this card compared to the 460, with the retail price coming in around $200. Now, in the process of testing these cards to compare against the Big Red Daddy over here, I got into an interesting discussion on Twitter with Keith of WCCF Tech and Sapphire Ed from Sapphire. For months now, I've been, I guess, underwhelmed? I mean, I don't even know if I've been whelmed at all with the overclocking performance of Polaris cards and the new global Wattman software provided by AMD. Any overclocks I applied seemed to fall completely flat, actually underperforming when compared to stock clock and memory speed tests. Well, that all changed when I was encouraged to try out Sapphire's own Trix software, a utility similar in functionality to MSI's Afterburner and EVGA's Precision X. I was able to actually achieve overclocks on the 470 and 460 that made measurable performance differences in all benchmarking utilities. The results were so good relative to previous efforts that I decided to go back and retest my RX 480, even though I had already done my 480 benchmarks for this video with current drivers already installed. And here, as you've all been waiting for, are the results. So as you can pretty clearly see, you definitely get what you pay for. The 460 does an admirable job, but it's not in the same league as these cards right here. All of my testing is done with all settings cranked with the exception of anti-aliasing. So it's definitely conceivable that you can get by gaming in 1080p on an RX 460 if you're willing to make a few compromises on quality. I did run through the first level of Doom using this card and the Vulkan API, and was actually pleasantly surprised, getting anywhere from between 40 and 60 frames per second on ultra settings. Take that down to a still very eye-pleasing high detail setting and you'll be cruising along at 60 frames per second in no time in one of the newest and best games of the year. I'll actually be doing a Skylake build with this card in October with a price target. Actually, you know what? Why don't you get subscribed so you don't miss it? Saying that the RX 470 exceeded my expectations would be an understatement. It goes toe-to-toe with the 8GB model of the 480 despite having half the memory and costing $40 less. In this price bracket, that's definitely not an insignificant amount of money. Now I'm sure I'll be putting this card in a build within the next few months, but I don't have anything planned right now. So until we catch a glimpse of the RX 490, 490X, or Polaris Fury, whatever they're gonna call it, this is the current generation of AMD GPUs. What do you guys think? Are you buying one? Have you already bought one? Let me know down below in the comments section. Also, don't forget to get subscribed to that channel so you don't miss any of my upcoming builds or review videos, and hit that like button if this video tickled your pickle. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next video, as always.